In the past, we have talked about how damaging the presidential debates were to ABC News and CBS News for their ratings. We're watching as well. 60 Minutes does the same thing to itself. But folks, we're here to tell you, we were tipped off to do a little investigation to the late night shows. And it turns out that you have not seen anything yet. Get ready, folks. We're going to show you late night is dead. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we dissect the entertainment industry with a scalpel of truth they just cannot stand, helping them heal and go back to the sensible center where money is made. Joining us today is John F. Trent. He is the host of the Trent Report, as well as the editor-in-chief of ThatParkPlace.com. John, welcome back to the channel, sir.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Folks, we're going to dive in. As we do, consider clicking that like button. Today, we're going to show you just how dead late night is. In the same way that they sacrificed the news divisions of the entertainment companies, we're looking at you, ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, and we've shown definitively what they've done, especially after those disastrous debates. Well, you have not seen anything yet until you see the late night ratings. It is unbelievably, atrociously bad. Folks, you won't hear it anywhere else until tomorrow when others get wind of this one. All right, we'll start off by showing you what late night looks like. If you thought it was Johnny Carson anymore, it's not. It's not Jay Leno. It's not Letterman. It's imbibing beverages. Here we go. This is what late night these days looks like. And we show this, folks, because we know none of you are watching it, and we'll prove it in just a moment. We know definitively nobody at all is watching this. Here we go.
Okay, the last time I had beer was at a baseball game with Doug.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There you go.
So that's late night right now. Folks, we're not trying to make a political statement with that. We're just showing you this is what it is. It's become totally political. Jimmy Kimmel Live premiere week dominates late night ratings. Exclusive out of the Wrap. Wait till you see what dominates means. I mean, this is, folks, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. It blew my mind when we did the research on this. The ABC talk show saw a 58% uptick in ratings as it returned for its 23rd season. Now, all of that sounds good. Oh my, wait till you see. Jimmy Kimmel Live dominated late night ratings during its fall premiere week. Dominated, John! The Wrap can reveal exclusively. As Jimmy Kimmel Live returned for season 23 on the week of September 23rd, the late night show scored a 0.19 rating among adults 18 to 49 on ABC, according to Nielsen, Live Plus same-day figures, becoming the number one highest rated late night show this week. Oh, good job, Jimmy. You've done it. The show also averaged 1.68 million total viewers in its premiere week. Oh my. And look how it dominated, John. It beat Stephen Colbert, who has a 0.18 rating, and Jimmy Fallon with a 0.16 rating. Dominating, destroying, amazing. Folks, here's Nielsen. You're all about to have a really good laugh. Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune got a 4.9 rating. Okay? Remember, the late night shows we were just discussing, 0.19. 0.19 is what we're talking about on late night. Let's go to Primetime Broadcast Network TV for just a moment. NBC Sunday Night Football got an 11.7. Okay? Matlock picked up a 4.6. 60 Minutes, which they are destroying as we speak, picked up a 3.9. It's the only remaining legacy news show out there for people to watch that are actually choosing to watch it.
How many of those people are tuning in for the football game?
Exactly. America's Got Talent on a Tuesday got a 2.8. Let's go back, folks. I need you to see this again, okay? Jimmy Kimmel Live dominates late night ratings. How did it dominate? Folks, it got a 0.19. We'll round it up. You know what? This is so bad, we'll just round it up. To compare it to Rescue High Surf, John. No one knows what that is. Rescue High Surf, 2.6 compared to 0.2. John, How embarrassing is this, and how long can they possibly keep these shows on the air?
Oh, they can keep the shows on the air as long as they want to. This is something that I've been talking about for a while. I think you've probably been talking about it as well. A lot of times what they're doing is that they're just kind of propping these shows up, using them as kind of like the propaganda pieces that they are, as we kind of saw in that clip there where it doesn't even look like she took a sip of the beer. And that's how they kind of do this. They can basically just keep spending that money. It doesn't really matter how much they're lost, because the control, the power is what they're actually more interested in than kind of the ratings. And you can see the ratings, even if you look, if you go back and look at those charts and you look at the actual viewership numbers, you can see that High Surf has 4.7 million viewers. That is 4 times the amount of what they're saying Jimmy Kimmel got, which was what, 1.6 or something like that. So
it's even worse, John. Let me break in for just a moment. It's even worse. And do you know why?
Well, I assume that a lot of that is people left their television on after the football game and didn't turn it off.
That's true, but the views don't necessarily correlate exactly with the rating, because the rating is taking into consideration the full duration of the watch time. Guess what? When you look at the ratings, Rescue High Surf is beating Jimmy Kimmel, who dominates late night, picking up 13 times the viewership. That's 2.6 compared to 0.2. 13 times the advertising power, the revenue power. And I'm going to say this, John, Rescue High Surf has 13 times the societal and cultural clout, right? When they're having these people go on the late night shows, people think it matters. It doesn't matter anymore. They sacrifice these shows and the legacy of these things. They've been on since the dawn of television. They sacrifice them at the altar of partisanship. They don't give a hoot about the investors. They just do what they do, and whatever gets devoured in their craven desire for political cachet, so be it. So, John, that's where we are right now. There's no reason for these shows to still be there. We'll get into in a moment why I think they're there, but tell me your thoughts on what late night was versus what it is today.
It's clearly not entertaining at all anymore. I remember watching some clips of, as you mentioned, Johnny Carson, and you have like comedians on, and they're actually, it was funny. Like the skits were funny, the guests were entertaining. You actually got interesting discussions. You had interesting things happening, and you wanted to tune in. It was something you actually like looked forward to watching. Now, not so much the case, because as you said, they've kind of sold themselves out as full partisanship on this point, and it's no longer entertaining. It's just too on the nose propaganda, even for people who might be looking for that kind of propaganda, are interested in that. Even they seemingly are no longer watching this stuff anymore. But I do think that there are investors that are interested in having this stuff be pushed out. So they are serving at least those investors in this case.
Well, I've got a very, what would we say? Maybe it's novel. Maybe some other people have discovered this too, but I'll explain what I think is going on in just a moment, why these shows continue to exist. Folks, you do not want to go anywhere. We'll talk about it as soon as we get through this article, and then we're going to do a comparison. I want to show you how the late night shows now compare to YouTube. Because again, one of the things we've been stressing here on this channel is they don't want to talk about what YouTube is doing. YouTube is dominating television now. It used to be the thing that was on your computer and on your small screen. No more. YouTube is absolutely taking over television, and I believe it's because of the democratization of the content creators. Channels such as this getting to bring you the truth. I think people are escaping the bubble that is the corporate oligarchy on the networks. Here's the article out of Forbes. It's by Elsa Ramo. It says, late night talk shows are turning into next day recaps, but the era's not over. Oh, really? It says, the idea of ending the night with your favorite late night talk show is becoming closer to an endangered experience. Last week, NBC announced that Jimmy Fallon's 11 seasons running talk show, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, is being demoted from a 5-night run to 4. That's because they can't afford 5. While there are some variances to the traditional talk show, the formula has largely remained the same since the 1950s. No, it has not. These were comedy recaps. Now, instead of being humorous interviews, they're political shows. It has always been coveted and faced with drama as to who is at the top of the late night leaderboard. Who cares? And by the way, it's Gutfeld. Gutfeld's at the top of the late night.
I was wondering if they even included him on that previous article, or did they just decide to exclude him?
We've actually got that. Hang on, we'll pull that up. Here we go on Nielsen. I know they're not going to bring it up. Folks, so you can see what's going on here. Gutfeld has a 2.8. Okay? So to give you some idea of what that is, okay, 2.8 is 14 times. Gutfeld is pulling 14 times the rating score as Jimmy Kimmel. 14 times.
So they literally were lying to you in the article in the Wrap because they were excluding Gutfeld and just didn't tell you. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, they would say, oh, it's network only.
Yeah.
American audiences have been laughing at and lapping up late-night talk show hosts for over 70 years, from early gems like Johnny Carson to Taylor Tomlinson's game show adjacent comedy show After Midnight. Evenings spent around the TV have been beloved for generations of giggles and guest galore. Nice alliteration. However, with cord cutters on the rise, the golden years of late night are clearly behind us. That did not ever have to be the case, though, John. It didn't have to be the case. You could have had these shows remain relevant and exist both on TV and on streaming and on YouTube, and they would have been just fine. Wheel of Fortune's doing it. We showed it. You know why Wheel of Fortune is still what it is? Because Wheel of Fortune is what it was. And these late night shows are not what they were. So how does this compare, John? Well, let's take a look real quick. This is Piers Morgan Uncensored on YouTube. You're looking at the website Social Blade, which gives us an idea of how YouTube channels are doing. All right, we just talked about how Jimmy Kimmel was doing. Piers Morgan, just on YouTube alone, is pulling almost 40 million. I mean, we're talking about right at the cusp of 40 million views, okay? Now, here's the question. How many views do we think Jimmy Kimmel is getting? Well, we said that he was getting 1.68 million on average per night. Okay, so we'll multiply that by 4. He's getting 6.72 million views per week. Okay, and if we say that there's on average 4 weeks in a month, he's getting about 26. We'll round it up. He's getting 30 million views, let's say, on average right now per month on a network. On YouTube alone, Piers Morgan is dominating the late night. Piers Morgan has significantly more clout, power, social cachet than the late night shows. They have no power anymore. They have sacrificed that power. And by the way, John, I could bring up dozens and dozens and dozens of YouTube channels just like this. That is where we are. So, John, where has the cultural clout actually gone to now that people have abandoned the traditional means of finding out what happened in the day?
I think it's been dispersed across a number of different people. I mean, there's all kinds of different programs that you can watch, as you said, on YouTube. There's a show that I like to watch called Pints with Aquinas, which is kind of a talk show. Obviously, Tucker Carlson is on YouTube now as well. We have shows like Friday Night Tights with Nerdrotic and Geeks and Jeremy Griggs and that crew over there. There's all kinds of different options that you can watch. I mean, in fact, you don't even have to watch live shows. I mean, you can watch. They're creating History Channel level documentaries now that you can watch. There's so many options that you can have to watch on YouTube. And then obviously, looking at these numbers here too, NFL. People are still watching football. They like football. Football is America's kind of pastime. And is obviously still dominating. I mean, look at that 1, 2, 3, 4 football games in the top 7 right there, just absolutely dominating that. And I think that 60 Minutes is probably getting a lot of football layover there as well. Before I think that it comes on before or after, I can't remember. That's how long it's been since I watched that program. But I think that's kind of where you're at. People are watching live sports. And they're watching things on YouTube, and then Netflix. Netflix is really where a lot of cultural power is at as well. That seems to be where the top shows are, top movies can be seen. But as far as kind of the late night commentary, I think it is on YouTube. That's where it has definitely shifted to. And then
so if we look at streaming, is 41% now, the largest chunk by far, largest slice of the pie. And if you're looking for who owns streaming, well, it's YouTube, and nobody's even close. You talk about Disney Plus, 2.3% compared to 10.6%. YouTube is in a completely different league, and YouTube is growing. Every single time we see this thing, YouTube has increased. I would not be surprised if YouTube, towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, is getting up there 12, 14%-ish. John, I've got a theory, though, about what's going on with the late night shows and why they're still surviving. And I want to give that to people out there right now. And then you feel free to push back on me on this. I'm going to throw it to you. You've not heard it. We didn't prepare this. You'll be hearing it for the first time here. So, folks, we're going into a little bit of rumor and speculation territory. We hope that you'll allow it. Here's what I'm thinking, John, and maybe you'll have had the same experience. I'm not a broadcast television person anymore. I don't watch it much. But to get ready for this topic, I did go and watch some of it to see what's going on there. And there was something I noticed that's distinctly different about broadcast television now versus decades ago and versus what you see when you watch YouTube. And that is that, and by the way, any other streaming platform, when I was watching broadcast television to get ready for this and watching the late night shows, I noticed that a huge percentage of the advertisements are for medicine. And not only that, John, but they're medicines that you can't actually select on your own. Like, the doctor has to say you need this medicine and has to prescribe it for you. So you as a consumer don't even get to select the medicine that's in the advertisement. And then I thought, well, why would you advertise during late night medicine like this? I mean, what is the deal where every commercial just about is about this one thing? Because when I go watch YouTube and when I go watch some of these other streaming platforms, this stuff isn't there like this. You turn on late night, it's medicine ad, medicine ad, medicine ad, side effects may include, and it, over and over and over. And that's when a thought occurred to me, and I could be wrong about this. So I want to preface this by saying I could be wrong. John, what I think is going on, what could be happening here, is I wonder if these late night shows, to whatever degree they're making any money at all, I wonder if they're being subsidized by Big Pharma. Because if they run those ads on broadcast television and prop up the amount of money that broadcast TV is bringing in, whereas otherwise it would hasten into a quick death, I wonder if they're doing that specifically in late night and during news segments in order to curry positive coverage from the networks for all of what's going on with big companies that make lots of meds. I just wonder, and partially, John, I'll give you one more piece of this, one more layer. I wonder it because if they buy the ads on YouTube, let's say, there's no guarantee that whoever's on YouTube is going to give them positive coverage because there are tens or hundreds of thousands of people making stuff on YouTube. But if they do it on the networks, it seems to me that there's not a whole lot of criticism or critical outlook on anything going on related with pharmaceutical issues on the networks. And so I just wonder, John, if what we're watching is some of these companies saying, you know what? We'll let the ratings crash. We'll turn them into absolute politics. We'll drive our news coverage of the day by showing clips of this because nobody's going to watch the actual show, but they'll watch it when we run 30 seconds of it on our news organization stuff. And then we'll get a boost out of all of it with pharmaceutical companies still choosing to run their ads despite nobody watching. John, that's a lot. What do you think? Am I wrong on this?
I think there's probably some truth to that. I think that obviously, though, when you look at those ratings, you saw that there's like 0.19 or whatever it was. I can't recall off the top of my head right now, but how low it was. And that obviously the demographic rating is for 18 to 49. So one would assume that the majority of the people that are watching the show are probably older than that. So they're probably trying to appeal to the people that are indeed watching that program. And it's likely you get older, you probably have more aches and pains and more issues happening. So it's likely that they're trying to appeal to those people. Those are their target demographic. So there's probably something to that. And I think if you watch any kind of daytime television too, you'll see ads are usually targeted towards those people and those demographics, whether it's something like Social Security stuff or stuff like that. I feel like those are obviously kind of targeted. You see that regularly, I feel like, at least when I visit my grandparents or whatever, and then they have the daytime TV on. So those are things, I think that is typical. There is probably something to the fact that they are probably being subsidized. I definitely feel like that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, maybe not so much from that corporate angle, but there is that possibility as well. Two things can be true at the same time, right? They can also be getting subsidies from this kind of pharmaceutical corporate angle, as well as the political class that are interested in continuing to kind of push the agenda that they want to push through these shows. And they're all the same, right? Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert, Fallon. They all pretty much say the same thing, do the same kind of song and dance. There is real no distinction between them. They don't offer anything new or different. They're all kind of the same bland show as well. So I think there's probably, I think those are probably the cases. I think your theory is probably right, but there's probably a little bit of other factors that go into that as well. Obviously, it's a very deep discussion. There's lots of things we can get into. I think there's already been some research into a lot of that stuff where they were kind of giving these kind of quid pro quo benefits to these companies that were purchasing so much ad buys and things like that.
Well, John, let's wrap it up with this one, because I just want people to see how much effort is going in to prop these shows up, how much they are pushing to maintain cultural relevancy, and it's not working. Just look at this. This is back out of the wrap again, where we just about started with. It says, to kick off season 23, Kimmel's premiere week guest lineup included Halle Berry, Mike Tyson, Josh Gad, Jack Schlossberg, Sebastian Stan, Will Reeve, Magic Johnson was there, Josh Jackson, George Clooney, and Caitlin Olsen. Last week, Kimmel hosted Gwen Stefani, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Aniston. Continues on. Okay, they even got Henry Winkler. Good Lord! And guess what? They got 0.19 for their ratings. 0.19. Folks, when you watch these clips be played on news channels and they make it seem like it's a big deal, just remember, they are living off the legacy. They are not living off the actual ratings of today. Nobody is watching this. And these people are legacy arsonists. They have taken what was given to them by people like Carson, Leno, Letterman, etc., and they set it ablaze. And they did so to sacrifice for, politics. And that's a terrible thing, I think, to have done, unless you're on YouTube, which we are, in which case, thanks. We appreciate the viewers. John, I know you appreciate getting all kinds of viewers on not only the Trent Report, but thatparkplace.com. Tell the folks out there what's coming up in your slice of the web.
Yeah, so we actually just literally right before we started recording here, just got an article up on The Lord of the Rings and how they've had 55 million people engaged with season 2, playing some word games, I think, on trying to spin the show as a success when all data markers that we have from various different analytics firms, such as Samba TV, such as Nielsen, such as Lumate, all indicating that the show is crashing. People are abandoning it and it is losing viewership. So that is quite interesting to hear that from the head of Amazon MGM Studios, Jennifer Salke, and how she's trying to spin the show. So got some good coverage up on that. Looking at all of that data compared to the comments that she made. So that's probably the latest story. And then obviously she also talked about potentially purchasing the Lord of the Rings rights from Embracer Group, which I don't know if anyone's been following that, but Embracer Group is going through a lot of turmoil right now. They had a $2 billion investment kind of fall through, and it's basically crashed the company. They've had to split it into, they're preparing to split it into 3 different entities, one of them being Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends, which includes the Lord of the Rings as well as Tomb Raider. Interestingly enough, Amazon obviously creates the Rings of Power, but they're also in development on a Tomb Raider live action show with Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones and the Temple, what is it? The Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny actress Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And they're also working on a video game with Crystal Dynamics that Amazon is going to be, I think, developing or publishing one of the two. So already some close ties there. And now Jennifer Salke admitting that there are discussions about potentially purchasing that outright from Embracer Group. So some pretty interesting news from the Lord of the Rings there.
John, in listening to your stories, one thing struck me as a lesson to be learned. Just because you are engaged in a very brief conversation with a beautiful woman does not mean that you are engaged with the beautiful woman. Folks, that's how they play the word games they do. One thing we consider not to be a game at all is you clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Make sure that you subscribe to John F. Trent over at the Trent Report. Do it today, and you will be happy tomorrow. Folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, adding value to your day, and being invited to share, we say this: keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.
Huh?
What are you doing?
Well, I was feeling really behind and uneducated on all the happenings in the entertainment world. So, I was trying to work out a solution, specifically around 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And, well, this is what I came to.
That's not what that means.
Oh.
But, why wouldn't you just watch Midnight's Edge on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? And on Tuesdays, on WDW Pro's channel, you got the Pro Show, and on Thursdays, you got That Park Place with Jonas and Vash.
Jonas? That guy sucks.
Well, feel free to jump in the chat and remind him of that regularly.
I won't feel free. I am free, baby. But I think you forgot something important.
What's that?
On Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, there's something really special that happens on Floral from Under a Rock.
Ah, right.
Under a Rock, where we don't simply talk about entertainment, we actually try to be the entertainment. Which, I mean, Floral, you're actually kind of dragging the show down, you know what I mean?
Well, theoretically, you and everyone else knows now what's happening at 12 Eastern Time throughout the week.
Yep. Now, just a point of clarity. You say 12 p.m. Eastern Time that the Midnight Edge will be happening. Is Tom gonna commit to being on time?
Well, that's a fair question.
Okay.